Greetings to you, and of course, welcome to the People's Movement Show. Thank you so much for being willing to join us in discussions that pertain to the interest of matters relating to Guyanese. I am certainly, as always, overjoyed to have the opportunity, to have the responsibility to speak to you, my fellow Guyanese brothers and sisters, even my enemies and my friends. I am grateful to have the opportunity to engage you on this platform where we are able to discuss freely matters relating to Guyana here in South America. Here at the People's Movement, we believe that we are a group of individuals who are independent thinkers. We are not thought for, we think for ourselves. However, we are united in that process, and that relates specifically to the interests of us all, which happens to be in most cases good governance of our country. Every Guyanese should have a great interest in how this country is governed, for we must understand that decisions are made, and those decisions have a direct impact on us all, in reference to decisions made by our lawmakers, as they call, or parliamentarians, and various heads of various departments in administration. I can see that you're already giving me the indication that the broadcast is clear. You can hear it clearly, and you can also see clearly. I appreciate that. So we're catching on to what we should be doing one for the other. Thank you for the feedback. It helps me to know the quality of this stream. This evening's discussion is warranted, to say the least. And that is because we have got to discuss a matter that is of great importance to all right-thinking Guyanese. And that pertains to relates to this issue with Anil Nandalal saying that the administration, and worse, the government, as it's called, would be appealing a decision made in the court regarding ExxonMobil being mandated to provide unlimited coverage for all Guyanese in case there is an oil spill. We'll talk about that. So I bid you shalom if you're a saint. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. We believe that every elected official, which are very few, and the majority of them are selected by those who are elected, we believe that these selected officials in Parliament, in the House of Assembly, and in other parts of our country, they should be, at all cost, held accountable. They must be prepared to speak to us. They must be held accountable by us. They must give answers to us. And we must be willing as a people, and that's my hope, to make them understand that their job is to serve us, the people, and not the other way around. They are supposed to reflect the interests of every Guyanese. They're supposed to reflect the desires of Guyanese. They're not supposed to tell us what we are going to have and what we're not going to have. It is their job to do what we say as a people. And that is the spirit of this movement. The spirit of this movement is essentially to get people to understand the power you possess. Hence, as the people of this country, we move the nation forward. If you don't mind, since most of you said that the broadcast is clear, please hit the share button. Tap on your screen, hit the share icon, and share this broadcast if you don't mind, so that others can be privy to that which I'll be sharing tonight. Now, Brother Jin is joining me because, of course, he shared this platform with me very, very often. But while he's here, I will show you how dangerous our leaders, as they called, are to us. I never thought that I would see the likes of, thank you, Jalil, for sharing with others and inviting them. I never thought that I would see the likes of any leader in this country claiming to be patriotic, being so willing to sell us out to these Caucasian neo-colonialist devils. We have to be careful as a people, very careful about who we support and what we support. I commend publicly, before I bring Jenna on the platform, the likes of Glenn Lal and others who are walking hundreds of miles, issuing a clarion call to all Guyanese to wake up and see that which befalls you at the hand of your own leaders. ExxonMobil, of course, they did not appeal, or said they would not appeal anything. It's Anil Nandalal who's going to take our taxpayers' money. Anil Nandalal. Anil Nandalal is going to take our taxpayers' money. Ashley Singh, I guess, would sign off on it, to appeal a matter where the judge said that ExxonMobil should have unlimited insurance coverage for us, including them, in case there is an oil spill. Brian, my brother, is saying, how about the ID card without a debate in Parliament? Guyana is going places, my brother, that Guyanese do not want to see, and the longer you remain quiet, the worse it shall be for you all. Let me bring Brother Jin on with me right now. There he is. Just come a little close to the screen for us, Brother Jinnah. Welcome to this broadcast, of course, as always. It's good to have you here.
Could you hear me?
I can.
Am I too close to the screen?
No, you're fine. That's good. Welcome, welcome.
I've been trying to invite people. Shalom, salam, namaste to all. You know, it's a funny thing. We're a multicultural, multiracial society. And a lot of us don't seem to realize that.
Right.
I wrote a piece the other day, bringing back people's understanding about what unites us and what divides us. There's very little that divides us. There's more that unites us. And what we're seeing that is emerging, as you quite rightly say, over and over again. What unites us is the common thing that we have ownership of a country, and the vast majority of us don't have control over that ownership.
Right.
It's a very serious problem. It's like you're building a house, you borrow money, you pay mortgage, but you don't own the house until you finish paying the mortgage. This is what is happening. You're supposed to own the house. Somebody comes, he or she does not know that you actually borrow money and that your transport is not with you. I have difficulty, getting back my transport. In fact, yes, I have to pay pay to get it back. Funny, isn't it? So even though I paid completely, I have finished paying for the house, so the house belongs to me, but I don't have the transport. For me to get it back, I have to pay for it, and then I have to go through a whole process of 3 weeks to get it back.
I can imagine. Now
we're discussing here the issue
on mobile and the PPP. Well, I should say Anil Nandlal as it being paid to be the Attorney General. Justice Sanil Kisuna ruled that there should be unlimited coverage should there be an oil spill. And there should be a guarantee that the cost will be covered should there be an oil spill in the Starbrook block. Anil Nandlal said that they're going to appeal that decision. Now, Brother Jinnah, what are your thoughts? Share with us and others. I'll share mine as well. And I have some data to show Guyanese, or figures to show Guyanese, to show you how disrespectful Anil Nandlal is to us. But what about your thoughts on this cabal seeking to appeal a decision that is meant to protect every one of us and our future generations, that is?
Well, you said it in one word. You said that we have are faced with a situation where we are kind of being recolonized. I mean, not that we a lot of us are still in the mood of colonization because of some of the things we do and some of the things we say are still we're still steeped in colonial behavior. But here we're talking about ownership, and we see very clearly that when we're in a situation where our resources are being sold out to foreigners, and we are in a situation where those who are in power, who are administering the resources, are hell bent in pleasing those who are actually in control of the resources. That's at ExxonMobil. So when the judge made the order that the ExxonMobil should have established unlimited insurance, he's protecting Guyana.
That's I mean, it's the discussion we're having, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting a train of
No,
thought,
no,
but
no, you go ahead because we
that's
have
what
a
has me,
discussion. We have a
that is what
discussion. Yes.
has me up until today. I'm trying to figure out now. Hold on. I know that they know that this decision protects all Guyanese, all, and future generations as well. So what you're speaking to reference to the colonization of us as a people, the new form is called neocolonialism, is really on the front burner now, because this decision benefits us. And we have Anil Nandalal saying he's going to fight against the decision that is meant to protect us. This is this is unthinkable, but then it's understandable in the light of what we know about who controls Guyana. So go ahead, my brother. Sorry to interrupt.
You remember I've been saying over and over repeatedly, who runs Guyana? Who
That's the
runs Guyana? I
that's
mean,
the
it's very if it's not clear to Guyanese that Guyana is run from the American embassy. Have you ever seen in any part of the world where the ambassador for a country goes around with the president of the country and sits at meetings where business people who come in the country to actually invest in the country, that the ambassador sits with the investors? Is she one of the investors? I mean,
she controls our economy, if you ask me.
it's unprecedented. And I mean,
Unprecedented.
unprecedented. This never happened. Could you imagine Sam Hines, who's the ambassador for Guyana in the United States? Could you imagine him going to the president of the United States when he has his press conferences and when he has his walkabouts?
I would love to see them try that.
These guys are shameless, you know. I mean, there's no word to describe the level of shamelessness that you in this age and time where you have to where you can't manage. We don't have we don't have an administration. We're not running the country. That is the problem that we have, and they are so tied up. I mean, credit to Granger discussing the oil industry. You remember what Glenn Lau told us when we had that meeting with us? It's no secret, and we don't hold secret for anybody. The discussion we had, he said that Granger was very angry about the contract that the AFC Raphael Trotman signed, secret agreement that he signed, including Harmon, Joe Harmon, and the rest of them. So we have to say the truth, and the credit has to be given to Granger. I guess because he was ill, he wasn't paying much attention to what they were doing. I probably trusted them. We don't know that fact. But the fact that they did that, he agreed to publish all the contracts and agreements that were ever signed with any company to do with oil. You remember that?
Right.
So what is if Mr. Granger didn't do that, we would not have known the extent to which the country has been sold, including the ones that were signed by Janet Jagan and Donald Ramatar. That's
That's
where
right.
it started,
Yes.
because some of the contracts that were signed, the people paid nothing at all, nothing, not even a penny. Remember the one that was signed with Donald Ramatar?
One of them, they had no physical office. I checked it. I did research myself. They have no office in Guyana. They operate from a house
Right.
in Canada. They had no website. Nothing.
Yeah,
They
nothing.
didn't have enough money to buy maybe even a house in Guyana.
Yeah.
But they were given a whole oil block. And Ramatar said that he followed advice to give your oil block to somebody like that. Now today, those people are billionaires.
Yeah, if you, I mean, it's normal that an um, important business of that sort, that you're the president of the country and somebody brings a document for you to sign. And are you saying that you're going to sign that document without reading it?
But we had an attorney general
He said he took the advice of Robert Prasad, who was
of
the
all
Minister of Environmental.
natural resources.
Yes.
Now, how can you take Robert Prasad advice if you have an attorney general? You can say, listen, at least call him. Did you check this out? Did you know? You remember this about this arrangement here? That's the least you could do.
Well, shows that the country is not being governed, and we keep saying that over. The country is not being governed because they are not paying any attention, any serious attention to the business of the country, and that is very serious because what is Nandalal is Anil Nandalal is supposed to be received two salaries. By the way, he received the salary of an attorney general
Mm-hmm.
and Minister of Legal Affairs. So he receives two salaries. He's supposed to be paid more money than the president of this country. The same thing Basil Williams did. So these are things that needs to be changed. You see, we come back to the question of accountability. These fellows are not accountable. These elected officials are not accountable to anybody. That is why a matter like this should not have been appealed. It should go to the parliament for a debate and discussion as to the content, the ruling that the judge gave, and whether such a matter should be appealed or not appealed, because the appeal is not in favor of the Guyanese people. It is not in favor of the Guyanese people.
And somebody's asking that you focus, and I let me show you this. Please address the fact that one being paid to be AG, that's Attorney General, is now planning on appealing the decision of the judge in the favor of all Guyanese. I think the question is that's the question in essence. So
what more could we say? What, okay, they haven't released what they're appealing on. I read today's recent news item, and it doesn't say on what grounds they're appealing. The grounds they're appealing basically generally on the grounds that the judge had given order to the Environmental Protection Agency to actually get an unlimited insurance from ExxonMobil so that the oil spill it protects Guyana. But the content of the appeal, which they said they submitted, they filed according to Nandalal. We haven't got copies of that yet, so
yeah, but
I don't know
if I
details
may,
of that.
yeah, if I may, just to bring persons to and all of us to the same playing field in reference to what we're discussing here. Reuters reported this, that Guyana's environmental regulator on Tuesday appealed a court decision that last week declared that the agency and ExxonMobil unit breached oil spill insurance obligations. And this is where we're going to focus our discussion. They breached oil spill insurance obligation for the company's first offshore project in the country. Guyana's High Court Justice Sandil Kissoon said in his ruling that, and this is very strong language here, Exxon engaged in a disingenuous attempt to dilute its obligations on its environmental permit for Liza 1 project by not fully meeting oil spill insurance requirements. It gave the company until June 10th to furnish Guyanese authorities with a liability agreement from an insurance company. This is heavy language. This is strong language. And Anil Nandalal, they are appealing this, where the judge ruled that Exxon engaged in disingenuous behaviors. Disingenuous behaviors, what did they do? There has to be unlimited coverage.
Yes.
In reference to oil spill protocols, because we don't know if an oil spill occurs, how long it shall take. And this is what I'm going to bring to the table shortly. Evidence to show why Justice Kissoon is so important in Guyanese history, and why Anil Nandalal should be charged, in my view, for treason. And
you might want to charge you and I.
Well, I would like him to be charged for treason, because this is treasonous. If a judge says, listen, if you're going to operate in oil production, there's a risk that there will be a spill. If there is such a spill, then the parent company must provide unlimited insurance. What does that mean? All the judge is saying to us people is this. He doesn't know the cost to clean up the spill. Exxon doesn't know the cost to clean up the spill because he don't know how much oil will spill. Anil doesn't know the cost either. So judge says the proper protocol is you simply have an unlimited insurance. So whatever the cost is, Exxon should bear it.
Yes, Exxon should cover that, yes. That's the essence of the
my brother Wilson, would you believe that Anil and EPA said that they already have a $2 billion on the table? So there is something there. $2 billion US. Now to the poor Guyanese person, I'm speaking to poverty in your mind. To you, see, that's a lot of money. Why are you fighting? Because it's just the judge is just being picky. Let me present this to you right now as we discuss this, Brother Jin, and to others. Let me show you all something. This is where there was a BP spill, and I don't know how many you can recall that. There's an oil spill in the US, the largest in the world's history, the BP oil spill. The reason why Justice Kissoon could say what he said, I will show you. Remember, Anil said, and EPA said, the head said, listen, we already have $2 billion in reference to an agreement. In case there's an oil spill, we have coverage. Justice Kissoon said no. Justice said no. There should be no limit to it. Let me show you this, Guyanese brothers and sisters. I put it on the screen for you all to see. You see BP oil spill? I want Anil to read this. He should be charged for treason against Guyana. He has sold us out by his actions. Look at this. As of July 14, 2016, BP's big bill for the world's largest oil spill has reached $61 billion. I want you to read this. I want you to see. These creatures in Guyana are saying that, listen, you already have $2 billion. So Justice Kissoon is wrong for saying it should be unlimited. So if Exxon says we give you $2 billion and there's an oil spill that costs us $50 billion, who you think paying the $48 billion US? Exxon? No. It comes back to us because the agreement is they will pay $2 billion if there's a problem. I want you all to see here. It's on your screen. I'm leaving for a moment for you all to see what Anil Nandalal gives and what Jaggi and these people give in Guyana. All because these people are controlling them, as far as I'm concerned. And that is my view. I believe that they're being controlled heavily, and they can only act as Massad says to act. This is a serious matter. I took time to deal with this because I don't want to rush to talk because I was that upset. But I want everybody to see. Look at this, Brother Gina. 61.6. That's of 2016, by the way. And it went up. $61.6 billion it cost BP.
And that was in 2020 and 2010.
Okay, so 6 years later, they're still counting. They're still counting and dealing with the cleanup cost.
So the cost now today would have been probably double, I guess.
Okay, then. So I'll remove it and we'll talk. I'll bring it back up later on. So, Brother Jenna, dive into that. Let Anil know where he stands.
I think that what is happening is that they are tarring themselves with their own brush, and more Guyanese are beginning to understand as these things are being exposed and the action that they are taking, because this has now become an international phenomenon.
It is.
Because if they appeal against it, and I am pretty sure that the Guyana Court of Appeal will uphold the
Most
judgment
definitely.
of Judge Kisoon, and then they will have to take it to the Caribbean Court of Appeal. What they're asking for, they're asking for a stay, which means that the order which is supposed to have been implemented in 30 days. He's saying that they don't have money. Who does not have money? Who does
Who?
not? He said that they don't have money. Who does not have money? ExxonMobil. The other aspect to this is that the shareholders and listeners need to understand the shareholders of ExxonMobil, who are multimillionaires living all over the world. They are very worried about the fact that if there is an oil spill, as we are predicting can happen, that they will be liable, and they are concerned about that. And because they have to, insurance means that they are protecting themselves,
Exactly.
and it's not a bad thing. So I don't understand why Anil Nandalal doesn't want them to take out an unlimited insurance. As you said, the unlimited insurance means that you don't know to the extent to which damage can be caused. So whatever
Now,
that cost is has to be met.
right. Now, we remember that based on how we are in a tidal movement and so on, reference to the waves, currents,
Climatic changes and so on.
right.
Yes.
This can affect Suriname. It can affect Trinidad. It can affect the whole Caribbean.
Yeah. Brazil and all of that, especially Venezuela and so on.
So there's so many nations, but let's bring it home to Guyana. We have fisher folk. We've got people who are engaged in, to some extent, tourism, where they carry people out for tours and so on, and fishing. All of that can change in one night,
Yes.
in one day.
One day, 1 minute.
That's it. One of these lines burst out there, a hose pop, and it's over. A vessel, something happens to it, it's breached, oil goes into the sea, that's done with. Justice Sassoon is saying, not that you have to apply a $10 billion US figure here. He's saying it doesn't matter what the cost is. You should fix it. You should give insurance that it covers whatever happens. How now this is, I'm passionate because my degree is in environmental sciences. I know the head of the EPA, and I know that what he's saying is not what he was ever taught to say.
So you know the head of the APA. I don't have
I know him.
confidence in this man.
Thank you very much. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying now. So this topic tonight comes in my ballpark.
Okay.
And I can tell every Guyanese that he was never trained in any lecture, any class, to say what he's saying now, because we studied so many situations, we studied so many possibilities, and it comes down to one thing. For one, we are very cautious about dangers that would the environment will face should there be certain negative effects. For example, Omai. When they had the cyanide spill in Omai, I went there, we were there, the Canadian company, and they were supposed to line the ponds, those ponds, with a particular thickness of PVC, of petroleum product, PVC. They didn't. There was a breach because of negligence. I kid you not, my brother. When I went there to visit with my class, I'll show you how Guyanese are subservient to these people, and it has to stop. Many Guyanese, you have to stop. I sat at Oman and I said, hold on. Kindly inform me as a student of the University of Guyana about the negative impact that your operation has on the environment. You know what that man told me? There is none. He's employed by OMI, a Guyanese. He said there's none. I said, who you think you're talking to? So the lecturer took us. You could see she got nervous because remember, OMI paid for us to go. OMI gave us free food. OMI is accommodating us. And so because the Canadians are accommodating us, you have to be nice to them. And she said,
Yeah.
Nigel, no, miss, no. How could this man tell me that I'm seeing trees ripped out of the ground, 200, 300, 400 feet pits? They're blasting with dynamite. Cyanide is in the water, and there's no impact.
What was his answer?
So he said, as far as he's aware, they're very cautious, and there's no negative impact. I said to him, you're disrespectful to me as a student and as a Guyanese. And if anybody has to pay to speak like this, you should quit, because you know the truth. And that's when speaking to this EPA head here. I kid you not, my brother. I don't know who was outside of the room, and they heard. The next week, the same man showed up in my class at University of Guyana campus, Turkey now, in Georgetown, came out of the bush. And he said to the lecturer, said, well, this man is here to speak to the class. He said, no problem, because I'm ready for him now again. You know what he said? I am here to apologize to Mr. London and to the class because I misinformed you, and I'm sorry. It is not true that there's no negative impact. What we try to do is to mitigate as much as possible negative impacts, but they are. I knew then that one of those white boys heard him and said, don't try that. Look at what it took. And the lecturer is telling me, no, it's okay. I said, it's not okay. So this fellow from EPA, he and I went to UG together.
I see.
He can't tell me that this right here makes sense to him.
So why don't you have him on a program?
He wouldn't come.
No, we'll announce that you invited him.
I'll try to get him. But it is basic protocol, people. If you're going to drill into oil wells, the basic protocol is this. Greenpeace and these people already have a problem with drilling. So we say as environmentalists, okay, you can drill, but you have to have certain strict measures in place. And if there is an oil spill, you, the operator, must bear the full cost. What's this? Not just for clean up, but for all of the spill-offs. Everything that's affected. If somebody says, listen, I used to go to the sea to meditate with my friends, and that's how we made money, and we lose $1 million, if it's proven in court, you have to pay them. That's how far we think this is. Every person that can be affected, every facet of society that can be affected must be covered. How could the head of an environmental protection agency agree with Anil Nandlal? What I would challenge
the whole thing is corrupt. Look, I've reported a matter here locally, and the local environmental officer came, and she made a report, and she's telling me that I have to write to the head office, and then they will have to write to her to get the report. What sort of system is that? You came as a local officer, you saw what you saw, you prepared a report, a written report, and you can't submit that report to the head office so that an action can be taken. You see what I mean? That the whole structure, the whole system is corrupt. Why do you think they removed Mr. Adams, the previous environmental director? They removed him because Dr. Adams was a highly qualified and competent individual.
And very strict. Remember what they're saying, and I hope I need to see how this is connected. Adams said, listen, anything you're doing, and that's the law, you have to have what is called an environmental impact assessment, called an EIA. You have to have that. You have to prove that whatever your actions would be, how would it impact the environment, and then we can decide on whether you should move forward. These people had the nerve to say that building the new Demerara Harbor Bridge would not impact the environment. We've got the egrets, those birds that you see by the bridge.
Yes,
and you be banging poles into the water. And Jagdio and them boys said, listen, no, there won't be any problem. Adams had to go because Adams said, no, you have to do this. And there have been so many other contracts where things have been granted without an EIA, which is unlawful. That's what we're dealing with in this country. So Parsram Kemraj, the head of the director of EPA, is saying, listen, it's true. Listen to this guy, and I want to read what he said, according to Reuters report. In his filing, the EPA's executive director, Kemraj Parsram, said it is true that a permit is issued by his office in May of last year and requires a parent guarantee from Exxon. The permit requires a guarantee from Exxon to cover costs not satisfied by its subsidiary for an oil spill. He added that he did not agree with the court interpretation that the permit calls for this guarantee to be unlimited. So there should be a guarantee according to Parsram, but it shouldn't be unlimited. And this is the EPA talking to us now. Exxon, there should be a guarantee, but put a limit to it. So, Kemraj, I know you and you know me. I'm asking you publicly to tell us what limit should there be then. You tell us. If there is a 5 million gallon spill, you tell us that you're prophetic now, because I'm going to church language to you. You're a prophet, Kemraj. You know exactly what will happen, how much oil will be spilled, and how much it will cost to clean it up.
So you and this man study the same subject matter. You're being lectured by the same lecturers. You read the same book, and you pass the exam together. So you're on the same par. And you are saying that what he's saying is nonsense, basically.
It is in environmental terms, it is an atrocity, because for him to say that there should be a guarantee, but there should not be a limit to that guarantee.
No, he's saying that there should be a limited guarantee, while the judge has issued the order saying that there should be unlimited, because the judge is saying none of us have any knowledge that we can predict the extent to any disaster. So he's saying, look, whatever could happen, that ExxonMobil has to have complete responsibility and liabilities, whatever that cost amounts to, $6.1 billion.
61 billion, as is the case with BP. But you know what is most frightening in all of this? That this man and the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, would have had access to information. As I'm saying, I'll show it again. This is at their fingertip. Look, it's right here. So you could simply check to see, okay, what did BP oil spill cost us? Or have one of his subordinates check. It's right here. What did it cost British Petroleum? $61 billion up until 2016. It's right there. It's right at his fingertips.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because you're an expert on this matter, just like him. Because he's supposed to be an expert. He's supposed to be the country's expert, right? And you studied with him. You have the same qualification.
Right.
Now, what would you do if you were in his position?
I would certainly side with the judge. I will ensure it would not have gone this far in the first place, because before Liza One project kicked off, there was supposed to be this on the table. And that's what Justice Kissoon said, that they operated in a disingenuous manner. Before they even started drilling for one drop of oil, there's supposed to be this on the table. Anything you're doing that requires drilling into the ground, you have to have protection. You have to have a guarantee that if the worst should happen, before we make $1 from the oil, we are guaranteeing you that we have the means to protect the country in case there's a spill.
So what you're saying is that what you're saying, the original contract did not include the coverage, insurance coverage in the very beginning.
Well, what the judge said and what the court is saying is that Liza One is where the problem is, because it was this already. It should have been there. But they sidestepped this. They sidestepped it because the judge said the Liza One project was not fully covered.
I see.
Liza One, That's what I'm saying. From the beginning, they're supposed to happen. But what happened? Many persons, and I realize what our political heads do. They say, listen, we can, and this comes back to Syria again. Don't give Exxon a whole lot of trouble. Somebody picks up the phone and calls her, and she says, listen, relax. And then EPA head gets a call, you need to relax. And one like Mr. Adams, he wouldn't relax. I know. He would not say, it's okay, let's just accept this. Let me tell the people on this broadcast what Exxon did further. Before they even started drilling, I complained and I said, Raphael Trotman, you are doing an injustice to Guyanese. How could you accept that Exxon is telling you that for you to go send one of, well, not me, but an agent from the EPA, from the Environmental Protection Agency, you have to give them 21 days notice to go out to the vessel to check to see what they're doing. I said, how does it make sense to y'all? If you want to inspect a people, what they're doing, you have to call Exxon, say, listen, we want to go to inspect Lisa 1, the FPSO, 21 days from now. I said that makes sense to y'all. And what's the next thing? You have to use their helicopter. So it depends on the availability of their chopper to take you out to their platform. Then you inspect. They house you, they feed you, and then they bring you back home. And I said to Trotman then, through social media, that your actions prove that Guyana is unprepared to deal with this giant called Exxon. They're going to rape our country because they know they're everywhere they want you. You're showing the Environmental Protection Agency that they have no power. The EPA should have its own helicopter, or the Army should have one to fly us out there, unannounced.
But Trotman was the man, if you remember, Trotman was the man who brought the professor from Oxford University.
Uh-huh.
You remember that?
Oh,
to
yes.
try to convince the Guyanese people that we must accept the deal that he signed with ExxonMobil. Trotman is as rotten as the rest of them. He was the man that started this whole process of selling out the country. And what has happened to him? You know, I saw your broadcast where you had predicted something that will happen to someone.
And
I
it
didn't
actually
know,
did.
and it happened, right? I don't know if you make any prediction on him because right now he's sick.
Well, I haven't, but I did say that there's a serious price to be paid for those who are causing.
Right now, Trotman can't even talk.
I've heard that. I've heard he can only write.
Cannot talk. And would you sorry for a man like that who sold the country out, where you have thousands of young people and babies and so on, where their parents cannot find food and live a comfortable life? How could you
And
sorry for a man like that?
I cannot be sorry for anyone who would have done this to Guyana, because it is not just what they did, but why they did it. And I look at
Yes.
reasons. Why did they do it? Why would somebody allow this to happen to us as a people? And it's because they're being probably pressured, because I told Guyanese
It
as well.
was greed and selfishness. It was
Yes,
their own personal satisfaction.
Hillary
If,
Clinton.
if a proper research is to be
Right.
done to find out how much they were paid, and there is evidence of that, which has not come to the fore yet. How much money they were paid and where they were paid and which bank and all of that. But you see, we don't have that system here because everybody's being bribed and everybody's getting a brown envelope and so on.
Well,
That's
in
what
some
is
cases,
happening.
brother, I realize some persons are not bribed. They're being told or bullied, do this. And it's important because the US knows that Ghana is led by weaklings. All right? Very weak people. And all they have to do is threaten them with, listen, we remove you from office. And our political figures are so greedy for power because that's how they're able to siphon off the money.
Exactly.
So once they are in power, they could get money. It's easy for them to get it.
Yeah.
So the threat in many cases is, listen, we'll move you from office, or like with in some cases with the election time, we take your children's citizenship away, or we take your visa. I could not believe that we've got people in this country who are afraid to lose a US visa, and that made you coward.
Well, you had people who were in parliament on both sides who were in parliament completely violating the constitution of the country.
Right.
And the Guyanese people only happened to know that when Charan Das
No
moved the
confidence vote.
motion against, and he could have been, if we had good people. I mean, I'm not diverting from the subject matter. It's all included in the whole corrupt practices that we have with the corruption is part of our culture. It become a culture in this country that every single person receive a bribe in the form of a gift. I don't know anybody who actually, if you offer them some kind of concession or whatever it is, may not necessarily be money, but if you offer them some favor, that they won't do something for you in return. I haven't met anybody in this country where if they do something and you offer them something and they will say no, thank you, man. Nobody. You've met anyone like that?
I haven't met politicians who
Not
function.
politicians, even ordinary people. It's become a culture. The country is corrupt and in a total disarray. And that is why they don't have what is called morals. They don't have any morals. They don't have morals. They've turned right into wrong and wrong into right. That is
Yeah.
where we're at the moment.
And that's what we're seeing here with in reference to the response to Justice Kissoon's ruling. Because I would have felt the Attorney General would say, listen, well, the learned judge has ruled and we're happy the judge has made the decision. So you can say it's not on me, it's not his fault. I mean, that's the least he could have done. So listen, it's not.
Nandalal has the habit of, this culture. It's as when these matters go to the Caribbean Court of Appeal, he quickly and they change whatever law and say about this. I'll give you one example. This dress that a man can wear, a woman's dress.
Right.
When the matter went to the Caribbean Court of Appeal, and they said, "Hey, a man can wear a woman's dress," and he rushed the legislation.
Rushed it through legislation. That's right.
He rushed the legislation to the parliament, and because they have the majority, it was passed, and the laws were amended. So a man can dress in a woman's clothes. What do you say about that?
Sick.
Isn't there a distinction between a man and a woman? What
There
is the
should be.
distinction between a man and a woman?
How they look. That's one.
Exactly, and how they dress.
Correct. That's how they look.
Yes. So we're in a situation where there is no morality, there is no respect for codes of practice or principles or tradition. You have lost it, and that is why you have a situation where people don't seem to care. Glenlal is walking from Berbice going to Escobar Coast, and how many people have joined him? How many people have prepared some food and say, look, these men are passing, let us prepare some food. Get
Right.
the community together and give them some foods, let them stop, have water, drink, and whatever, a place for them to sleep and all of that. I remember when I was growing up as a kid and we were fighting colonialism, that we were marching. And as we passed different villages and people stop us and they gave us, barrels of food and drink and all that kind of thing. And you feel happy that, you feel that enthusiasm to continue, even though it may not be everybody walking, but at least they are supportive. They give
Correct.
solidarity and support.
Correct.
They blow their horns and so on. If you look at it, when you study other countries and what is happening here, it's a dead society. That's what it is.
Yes, as if many people are unresponsive to things that should really, really trigger them. And this is one of them. I want to show the viewers as well another bit of information here. I'll take my camera off. So in 2018 now, it says BP takes $1.7 billion charge on Deepwater Horizon costs. It's now top $65 billion. So 4 years later, they had another $4 billion to pay. Look at the other one. BP and his partners have spent $71 billion over 10 years. You see that? And one guy needs to take note of what's happening on the screen here. Do you notice that I showed you in 2014, it was at $61 billion. Now in 10 years later, look what's happening in over 10 years, as a matter of fact, they spent $71 billion. To say that they should therefore be, according to Kemraj Parsram from EPA, to suggest that there should be a limit is going to give Exxon, according to what they said, there's already $2 billion arrangement on the table. So if we have to find $69 billion to pay Trinidad and Barbados and the Antilles and so on, where are we getting the money from? Because remember, this happened in our waters. We said that we agreed that Exxon should only give us $2 billion to cover any issue. So where we will get the $69 billion from? I'm asking the EPA head to tell us all. You could respond to us subliminally. Let Anil tell us as well. This is a serious matter because this can have far-reaching implications. You can be suffering for years. Wildlife can suffer. Marine life.
Look what has happened to Nigeria. A large part of Nigeria is virtually dead. Nothing can grow there.
Absolutely dead.
And you know they have the big struggle. People may not know that Ken Saro-Wiwa, who was championing the cause like what Glenn Lal is doing, that they kill him.
Yes.
And his son is now fighting the same battle all over again that his father is fighting. Yeah. I mean, things have changed a little bit in Nigeria. I don't know to what extent, but it has changed in the sense that these oil companies, Shell and them, they have had to come to the table. So what we're not going to be able to only use the court alone. What we've got to do is the Guyanese people. I mean, even sharing this discussion, it's a simple thing to do. That people who are looking should be. We don't have to tell them. They should share this what is going on here, which is a simple thing to do to all their friends and family and so on. Because we need to mobilize people for this kind of support to actually take back the oil industry. You know, I saw a video somebody sent me last night where they gave a history of Venezuela, the same Venezuela now that is in economic crisis or coming out of the economic crisis. It was one of the booming economies in the world.
The world.
Yes, the world. And did you know that the Venezuelan government under Perez, that they nationalized the oil industry in Venezuela?
Yes.
Not Chavez. The oil industry was nationalized by the Democratic Party in Venezuela, by President Perez, and they took control over their resources. Nobody's talking here about telling the ExxonMobil that if you play the fool, that we will pass a law in Parliament. The opposition and the current administration are guilty of selling out the country.
But what was the important point to note in that is that Irfan Ali said, and I played it on this show when you were here, Irfan Ali said that you have to take note of what happened to our neighbors. He was talking about Venezuela. An Exxon executive was sitting in the crowd when they went to commission the crane on these banks. Imagine this man.
Irfan Ali wasn't born yet. He was born in April 1980. I know that date because I was charged for treason in May 1980. He was 1 month old.
And imagine he said that, listen, with Exxon executives sitting in the crowd, that you cannot just go and change a contract. We inherited this contract. Remember, we discussed that. He said we inherited the contract. How can we go and change it? We have to remember what happens when he tried these things.
Yeah, but didn't he know about that when he was interviewed by this idiot, what's they calling himself?
About critic,
right?
Critic.
Yeah, that he said that they will renegotiate the contract. There was no question at all.
Let me play it for you. Listen.
Please listen to Mr. Mohammed Irfan Ali when he was the presidential candidate back in 2019. What he had to say about renegotiation of the Exxon's oil contract signed by Trotman and the coalition.
The oil contract. Do you agree with the 55 billion signed away global witness report? And will you revisit the oil contract?
We have made it very clear, but we can never agree. How can I don't think any Guyanese agree with this. No Guyanese, except the government that is defending it. We have made it very clear that we have to go towards relooking at these contracts, renegotiating these contracts, looking at contract management, and all of these things. Everything we have to relook at because we have to ensure that our country does not get the wrong end of the stick.
So everything is on the table for review as it relates to oil contracts.
Yes, review and renegotiate.
Oh, we have made.
Can you could you have it much any clearer than that?
Thank you. Imagine.
And do you have the one what Jagdev said?
I don't think I have. Do I have what Jagdev said?
Yeah.
I know.
Glenn Lal had exposed what Jagdev said.
I didn't. Let me see. No, I didn't get that one.
Okay. But Jagdev said the same thing. In fact, Jagdev said that in less words that this contract was such a bad contract. I think he used words to that effect.
Yes.
Such a bad contract that nobody will agree with it. And what is he saying now?
We have to
I don't know how Guyanese people can actually go to the polls and support elements like these. It just bothers me. You know what I mean?
It does. And what is more telling is now this aspect has arisen. So it's one thing to have a bad contract. But it's another thing, as Justice Sassoon said, Exxon knows the contract is in their favor beyond what anybody can imagine. Even Joe Biden talked about how much money they made.
Yeah.
And to now see a judge saying, listen, your actions were disingenuous. You knew that you're supposed to have certain things in place, and you failed to do so. So we have on top of the bad contract, bad leadership, where these elements is now saying, listen, we're going to fight Guyanese. That's what Anand Nanglal is doing. We're going to fight our own people to ensure the Exxon gets away with this.
When he's saying that they don't have money, who is he referring to don't have money?
It has to be Exxon. Who doesn't have the money?
Or the insurance is supposed to be taken out by the Guyana government?
He had better not risk that, because Guyana government is not the parent company.
The Guyana government, let's discuss this contractual situation. Okay, they've signed a contract, which is a lease, right? How long is the lease for? The oil contract lease? 30 years?
I can't recall.
Okay. But the situation is that they sign a lease to extract oil from Guyana, right? Wherever the lease was, area in which the lease was signed. And so therefore, when that lease was signed, the oil price goes up and goes down, isn't it?
Correct.
At this moment, the oil price has gone up. And so who's benefiting from the price going up? ExxonMobil. What the British government has done is to put a levy on the extra money that the oil companies made during this period when they, well, it's happening still.
Right.
That they put a levy on the increase in the oil price. This administration is not doing that. So ExxonMobil is benefiting maybe more than half of the amount of money that they were selling oil, $50,000 a barrel. Now the price of oil is how much? Over $100 a barrel, isn't it?
Right. So you see what is that Exxon knows, and because they're very political in reference to how they function, Exxon knows the extent to which they can control the Guyana administration. That's why they said that the right people are controlling the government now, are controlling Guyana now, because they know. Exxon know, if there's one thing that Exxon pays attention is the political climate of a country.
Yeah.
These are things I've said to our brothers and sisters, and you would have spoken to them as well.
Well, all investors have to study the political and economic system and the cultural nature of the country.
Right.
All investors, and they spend millions of dollars trying to find out how we think and what we think.
Right. And so the things I will bring to your attention this evening before we go, people, and one is this. Exxon understands the value of the PPP civic to them, and not the lower tier of the PPP. I'm talking the upper tier, the Jagdeo, Anil, not even Irfan. Irfan is just a puppet, a toy talker. I'm talking about those with decision-making power. Exxon understands the power in having these men controlled by diplomats, and that's where the U.S. ambassador will come in. Once they recognize that Guyanese are unprepared to speak boldly and courageously in reference to these faces in leadership, they have the country under control, because they know from studying that the Guyanese population doesn't react at this time to things of this nature. We don't have people who go to the street right now and say Exxon, surround the headquarters and say, you all better fix this. They know that won't happen. The second thing Exxon knows is this, that this administration, unlike Granger, would use elements of the police force to shoot and kill Guyanese to protect Exxon. They know that. They know that they will get the army to come and kill Guyanese to protect Exxon interests. They know that. And because they know that, they're going to say what they said, which is the right people are in office now to control our oil. These are just painful facts we have to live in, face as Guyanese. The other thing the Guyanese must pay attention to is this. Exxon also knows very well that there are Guyanese who prepare to sell their land. Even if for $3 million US, it sounds like a lot to us. Oh, I get 600 plus million US dollars and $1 billion Guyana dollars in my hand, as a matter of fact. That's what they process. These people know that in the not too distant future, land will be worth more than oil in context in this country, because we don't have a place to live. What would they do? What are they doing now? They are buying our land. They call expatriates, buying our land in this country like crazy. And none of the political leaders I've heard say, we have to pass a law in parliament that prohibits Guyanese selling lands to foreigners. You would never hear that from them. You could lease it, but you can't sell it. Because many of these same political faces own a lot of land around Guyana, because that's what they get it from their friends. Whichever side you're on, you get benefits. And so they benefit heavily from the sale of land in terms of tens of hundreds of millions of dollars in their hand. My brother, when the dust settles, our children would not have a place to live readily in this country. When they want to go to University of Guyana, you better hope it's online. That's our reality. And that's what the likes of ExxonMobil will play with. So coming home to this Kemraj fellow program at EPA, Exxon knew that Vincent Adams is not good for them. And I would not doubt that they made certain phone calls to get him out to where he was, because he was a bad news. They didn't want him there. Now they have somebody there who would say what is unsound in terms of environmental principles and environmental law, which we had to study. Brother Jinnah, I studied law for 2 years as an environmental science student. I studied environmental law. I am telling you all, my people, when I heard Parshram, I said, no, this boy cannot be serious. This is a joke. We studied law.
And did you call him?
I haven't called him. I want to see him face to face.
No, you should talk to him to find out what is he saying so we can report it.
Imagine, we have studied environmental law, people. And there's no law that states that you are supposed to have operations of this sort going on in your country. And you don't know the extent to which oil can spill, but you limit the extent to which a parent company have to pay. How does it make sense?
So basically, if I don't see any judge actually accepting, sure now that ruling.
The CCJ, you don't see? The CCJ, the worst court in the world.
The what?
The CCJ, Caribbean Court of Justice. They are the worst court on the planet. I don't expect anything good from them.
So do you think they might bribe those judges?
Brother, the CCJ said that when all laws said that the man should not be dressed like a woman, they said it meant in an, inappropriate manner. I said, no, hold on. What is it supposed to mean? When does a man just appropriate as a female?
So well, a lot of them might be homosexuals, or lesbians.
Thank you very much. You don't forget that same CCJ who said that A vote is a vote. It doesn't matter if the person
no, I am not. I am not. I am not. It's a matter of comparison, where judgments are given in relation to this country's judges. I mean, look at the ridiculous situation where the Chief Justice threw out the petition, the election petition, without
Oh
even
boy.
hearing, looking at the evidence of it. On
Oh
what
boy.
basis is he doing it? Huh?
Exactly. Look at what we're dealing with. So I have the least confidence in the Caribbean Court of Justice, and I believe that this matter should end up all the way to the international court, because Exxon is playing games with Guyanese lives, and they know that. And for a judge in San Kissoon to be so brave, that man deserves the highest honor in this country, the golden hour of achievement. For him to say, listen, your actions were disingenuous, those are extremely strong words.
Yeah, but for the judge, we had good lawyers, you know. Janky, what's her name? She was just one of the lawyers, international lawyer, Guyanese
Yeah.
one, an environmentalist, and she was very good in presenting the case. But what before we go, what needs to happen is that we need to find ways of supporting this march that Glenn Lal has, and find a way to joining him at some stage.
I plan on doing so, but once he gets into Joshua, my days permit me to do that. I plan on joining. Maybe you should as well. I know you know I can't walk far, but you can walk nonetheless.
Yeah, you gotta pass my home.
Yeah, so I want to join. I want to join in this march, in solidarity. It is not for me a joining of a political front per se. It's a joining of minds who understand that we are in trouble. We are in serious trouble, especially if you live on the coastline of this country. Every individual lives in Berbice, on this coast, the East Coast, the West Coast. You should be on the street, as Virginia is saying. You should be out there in the thousands, because you stand to be affected. I live in London. Oil wouldn't reach me in a long time.
Even the flood wouldn't reach you.
No, nothing bother me. I have
you're on highlands.
Right.
Yeah, we don't want to supposed to be.
If you live on the coastline of this country, I don't think that Guyanese, maybe I can encourage some of y'all tonight, it may be a good thing to do. Go to YouTube and search for oil spills. And I want you to search to see what happens when oil spills occur, crude oil. And you're going to understand why Justice Kissoon, based on his research, said what he said. Because he didn't just talk off the top of his head. He knew that there were cases in this world whereby it cost more than $2 billion to clean up the oil spill. He knew that. And knew that
the facts were presented to him. The facts were presented to him.
Right.
I mean, I don't know you know so much about it. So I would ask that we have a special program to actually discuss in much more wider sense oil industry, so the Guyanese can have a much more more equipped about this oil industry and what are the likely consequences in terms of this. I mean, we said some of it there, but it's got major consequences in terms of life and the other issues. I'm certain you would have also discussed or studied the effects of actually taking oil from the ground, that it destroys the strata and can cause a lot of other eruptions like volcanoes and the earthquakes and so on.
Well, there's quite a bit to discuss, and it depends on how much is removed. Because whenever, well, in some cases say they remove oil and something, but take the place water and stuff like that. But of course, they have different densities and everything else. So it's not as easy as I said, and it's worthy for discussion because we have to understand, as you spoke to seismic activities and what can happen and what cannot happen when you just pumping oil and gas.
Yes.
Take note of what they're doing. It's not just oil coming out.
Yeah, even a space there.
Right. We haven't spoken to the flaring yet. The Guyanese, the Jagdu, they're very quiet about. But the people who are working on these vessels and passing by it, and they're showing you the flames in the air, they're burning off gas, and they can't burn off a whole lot enough. All right?
I know we have much time to discuss, but I just want to throw out this issue.
Sure.
And the question is, why is it this? But this is part of the conspiracy to deny Guyanese a good living, which is that in the contract they signed with these oil companies, they are not they haven't allowed us to actually establish an oil refinery. I know Dr. Durga and other people who have actually presented a proposal, a detailed proposal. I've been around with him many times. A detailed proposal about a modular oil refinery, which would have satisfied our local consumption and produce and buy fuel at a very, very low cost, which
Well,
would
one, and just in closing, we can talk with that briefly. For one, remember that Shell would have purchased, I think, the first time we got our share of oil, we sold it to Shell. Remember that? I don't know if people remember that.
right.
Shell owns stations, the only refinery. And we, of course, we have Shell, well, Salt, I think they call it now, stations all around Guyana. So if we begin to refine our oil, you affect business partners.
Yeah, but that's part of the robbery, isn't it?
That's exactly the point I'm making. So
And it
what
doesn't make sense
now,
to me. Where if you're talking about Caribbean integration and all this nonsense about reducing the food importation, you have to fuel and energy is the key.
the
To
key,
redu-
brother, yeah, my brother, this is what we face as Guyanese people. And it is just a reality that I've learned with the and I always speak to the upper tier of the PPP civic, because people who are in the PPP understand I'm saying to y'all. You've got the lower end and the upper scale, just like APNU FC. The upper tier of your party, they're extremely corrupt people.
the leadership.
Right. And what do? They understand, listen, if we have an oil refinery here, they have friends who their money, as Guyanese say, long. They get money from so many different streams that they don't want to affect certain arrangements, because people who own Shell gas stations, they will be affected. They don't want that. Because remember, they have the franchise. They don't want that. So what you do is you simply bypass the thought of an oil refinery. But I must hasten to say that Jagdi has not begun to talk about that, because he heard and he knows pressures on him. Guyanese is saying, no, we could do this here. We could do it right here. Why in the world must we have to send the crude away and then buy gasoline here?
Exactly, because there's several countries in the world,
They're willing to do it.
including Trinidad and Tobago, that has all the expertise here.
That's right.
We can have joint companies and sell shares to Guyanese. Not only that they can purchase the oil at a low cost, but also they can have a dividend. Because if Guyanese own the company, they can buy shares in these
Right.
companies. Like Exxon Mobil, it's a a public
Yeah.
shareholding
Yeah.
company, and in that way we can hold government in to account. So
It
these
can
are some of the
happen.
subjects I think we need to come back again and discuss some of
We
these
must.
things. And
We must. And it
yes,
will happen. We will have an oil refinery in Guyana, but it won't happen until Shell and other people who own certain gas stations or service stations would have made enough money or have enough input. You see, the other trick is, if you have people who own these service stations, these fuel companies, and you say to them, listen, all right, we're going to give you, and I know Jagdia well, we're going to give you a 5% and a 3% and a 5% power. They buy into it, because when you look over the long term, Shell could leave, because now these owners, these service stations, have got a direct investment and ownership in the oil refinery here. I'm telling you what they're going to do. Until their people are set up right, they're not going to do what you're speaking to, because they know that this is about their cronies and their lackeys benefiting. So I do appreciate your suggestion for us to have some more conversations about this.
yes, but
I
we
also
need
like
to
to
look.
suggest
Yeah, one last word. One last word.
yeah.
The Guyanese have power, and they have power at the polling stations, where they can go and change their political leadership, and so they have the power to actually make those kind of changes. And we have to have good leadership. They're calling upon us to participate in the electoral process, but they're not giving that kind of support that is necessary to
That's
actually
good.
make that transition.
That's
And I
very
think we have to have a series of programs to begin to start to educate people in a more organized way through Zoom and so on, so they can actually respond and talk to us too.
I do agree, and thank you for your input as always. I appreciate the fact that you've and you always would do seek to be as clear as possible on certain matters, and even encourage and advocate for there to be further discussions on the same. So I would also suggest that we talk a bit about environmental law, because that's where Guyanese will understand the legal implications of certain things, and how law protects you, protects your children, protects all of us from the likes of ExxonMobil. Exxon doesn't like law, apart from the contract they signed to get money from you. That's the bottom line.
These politicians don't like law. They
Exactly.
violated all the laws. The
Oh,
constitution of the country
I
is
know, I know.
seriously violated.
Yeah. So, but June, as always, thank you
Okay,
so much for being here with me.
thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure. I look forward to sharing this platform with you more often, and for us to encourage our Guyanese brothers and sisters. I'm encouraged by the comments. You will see them when you're off,
Okay.
because most of the people here understand and they agree that we are being raped, and that this decision by Anand Nandlal is really, really an atrocity. He should be charged. If you ask me, honestly speaking, this is ridiculous. But
Well, we can bring a private charge against him. That's allowed in court. I don't know if they what the woman is going to throw it out.
exactly. So, DPP, thank you and do well.
Okay, take care.
Do well.
Right.
Viewers, thank you all so much for being here with me this evening, as always. Let us continue to keep our minds and our hearts focused on what is good for Guyana. We have a responsibility, and that is to ensure that our country is run in a manner that is safe for our future generations. Guyana has been for sale, but we have the power to redeem it, which is to buy it back. And that comes through people uniting, and through people understanding why they should unite and what they should do when they unite. We should not unite just to talk about political affairs and who we don't like and which party is doing wrong. We should unite to change political affairs, and that is your responsibility. Let us change the landscape of this country, the political landscape. It is dangerous, and there's nothing more that in my view, you should see than a party of men seeking to fight against a judge who said that we should be protected from an oil spill at all costs. What else should we see? This should cause us to have elections tomorrow to get rid of the PPP and those who are quiet about this matter. Thank you. Let us unite. Let us do this together. Let us see a different Guyana. Not a new Guyana. We should see a different Guyana. I thank you for your time, and do well.